Chapter 42, Sect Grand Ceremony. After Sister Shen brought Wang Daniu into the peak, she handed him over to Han Yi. Han Yi then familiarized Daniu with everything about Pure Yang Peak, teaching him everything he had learned so far. Take this jade token and the storage ring. The ring contains spirit stones and abstinence pills. The spirit stones are the money traded between cultivators, and the abstinence pills are for staving off hunger. You can use the storage ring if you just concentrate a little. Wang Daniu carefully stowed away the identity jade plate and took out a few pigeon egg-sized, crystal clear spirit stones from the storage ring while laughing joyfully. The stonies are pretty. In the world of cultivation, you can't do without spirit stones. The sect's cultivation resources are ultimately limited, so we have to complete tasks assigned by the sect to earn rewards and exchange them for spirit stones to purchase the items needed for cultivation. After explaining some basic principles to Daniu, Han Yeast, Daniu, you've already passed the entrance examination for the sect. What about Miss Liu, Gao Qiqing, Li Chong, Zhao Jin, and the others from Liu Manor? Have they all passed? Wang Daniu shook his head. Brother Han, you left quickly and early. You don't know that the third trial is still going on. Not many people have reached the peak. I used a lot of effort to reach the top. Han Yi looked astonished. 2 days and 2 nights have passed, and there are still people on ascending Immortal Mountain. Yes. Hearing this, Han Yi stroked his chin, realizing just how difficult this year's entrance examination was. He and Chu Shanyu were among the first to reach the peak, so they could start cultivating on the Immortal Peak right away. He reached the top by chance, picking up Chu Jianyu's attribute, but it was different for others. They could only rely on their true determination and perseverance, enduring for as long as it took. If they couldn't do it in 1 day, try 2 days. If not in 2 days, try 3 days. Until they reached the top. Sister Shen mentioned that this year, the number of participants with qualified spiritual roots hit 100,000. Including cultivators from all directions, and not just from the Great Zhou in Central Earth, but also from the far west. And people from the islands in the eastern seas who were attracted by the reputation. The cultivators Han Yi saw on Nurturing Heart Peak were just the tip of the iceberg. Other peaks did the same, and everyone would eventually gather at the foot of Mt. Wendao. In the end, the Dragon Sparrow sect might only admit a few thousand. Wish them luck. Han Yi silently wished in his heart. Now, he is an independent individual and not a servant of Liu Manor. He is not strictly obliged to worry about others. But there were a few companions he had been on good terms with throughout the journey, which was a rarity. Pick up attribute, Strength of an Oxwan. Suddenly, a green light flashed. Han Yi looked up to see that Wang Daniu was already practicing his punches against a white rock, leaving a white mark on the rock with every punch. If Daniu could be so diligent, he had no reason to slack off. But he still had to give a reminder. Daniu, now that you're in the sect, there's no need to spend too much time on boxing. You must find a way to advance into key cultivation. Only after key cultivation can you learn some simple spells and sect techniques. But I can't understand this Dragon Sparrow key nurturing technique at all. Wang Daniu looked embarrassed. It's okay, I'll teach you, Han Yi smiled. Dragon Tiger Physique 408500. The physical body is extremely strong, far superior to ordinary people. Carrying the dragon and tiger breath without interruption. Effortlessly lifts a weight of 1,000 caddies. Only when Daniu becomes stronger will he be able to keep up with his attribute picking schedule. Time flew by, and Han Yi spent 7 days on Pure Yang Peak during his diligent cultivation. He completely consolidated his cup realm of key practitioner and was able to begin learning some simple spells. According to the sect map, to learn spells, he had to go to the book collection pavilion on Sea of Books Peak. This is a critical area in Dragon Sparrow sect, protected by powerful beings and housing countless books. Hahaha, Brother Han, I finally managed to guide the key and possess true key. Wang Daniu, who had already changed into a blue robe, ran out from the tower corridor and found Han Ye's room to announce the good news. Under Han Ye's guidance, Wang Daniu finally sensed the existence of spiritual key, successfully guided the key, and was not far from key cultivation. Da Niu, congratulations. Han Yi opened the door with a smile. In his view, Da Niu's talent was better than his own. Not only did he have fire and earth dual spiritual roots, but he also had a high understanding, was able to learn quickly, was dedicated and hardworking. His future achievements would not be low. If one were to say that Chu Shanyu was born like a talented athlete, remarkably talented from birth, then Wang Daniu was the type who worked hard. He didn't show off and had a bit of the pretending to be a fool while being smart vibe. Today is the grand ceremony of the sect. Everyone is to gather at Yishi Peak. Sister Shen's voice resounded throughout the entire Pure Yang Peak, and every disciple in both the inner and outer sects could hear it clearly. It seems the entrance examination has ended. Han Yi thought to himself, then turned to Wang Daniu and said, "Let's go, Daniu. We should check on the young miss and others to see how they are doing." He walked outside the Great Hall, headed to the back hill where cranes danced and flew. He took out his identity jade plate. Immediately, an immortal crane flew up and landed in front of him. Until key practitioners could achieve flying, they had to rely on riding cranes for transportation. Han Yi looked back and saw at Wang Daniu, who was still standing without reaction. He then laughed and said, "What are you waiting for?" This Wang Daniu hesitated. "Oh, I almost forgot." Han Yi laughed out loud, remembering Da Niu's fear of heights. It's all right, what a person sees is decided by the person themselves. You can just use a cloth to cover your eyes. As long as you can't see, you won't be afraid. Okay then, the Yishi Peak. Above the magnificent mountain range, the grand ceremony was held by the sect. The sky was blue as if washed, clouds were drifting, and when the sunlight shone, the scene was radiant, reflecting the greenery of the immortal mountain and the gurgling stream. On the day of the grand ceremony, the cultivators in green robes each flew on their swords or rode on cranes through the air towards Yishi Peak. It was like a scene straight out of an immortal landscape painting. A few cultivators were donned in white robes with gold embroidery and cloud patterns made of silver thread. With their hands behind their backs, they walked in the air, demonstrating their extraordinary charisma and dignity. They are the personal disciples of each peak's elders, and are also the chief disciples of each peak, responsible for managing numerous cultivators in the inner and outer sects. This robe embroidered with silver clouds is their most distinctive feature. To become a personal disciple, one should at least have the cultivation of the golden core. They have the qualification to line up and compete for the position of the chief disciple, emitting light like a waterfall, shining with hundreds of brilliant lights. Their power was exceptional, and breath was turbulent. When they fly in the sky, the golden core's energy was thick and prominent. Every golden light represented their years of hard work and perseverance in cultivation. Han Yi and Wang Daniu were also among the many herds of red-topped immortal cranes. Wang Daniu's eyes were covered with a thick layer of cloth. Han Yi, riding on the back of an immortal crane, teased him. "See, Daniu, I told you, covering your eyes works wonders. Feel a bit better, but I'm still a bit scared." "Ha ha ha, we're almost there. I see Miss Liu. Looks like her exams went really well." Han Yi laughed heartily, then amidst the crowds, he attached True Key to his eyes and instantly spotted Liu Linky. Upon arriving, he jumped down from his crane, landing gracefully on the ground. "Congratulations, young miss." Among the crowd, Liu Linky was wearing a blue gown, her figure upright, her spirit undiminished. Her eyebrows were furrowed, which made them look very fine. And she spoke in a pretendingly reproachful tone, "You sure ran off quickly on empt. Wendao, which peak are you on now?" Upon seeing Han Yi, she knew he had already successfully reached the summit and entered the main peak. Although she felt a bit unconvinced at heart, she was mostly filled with admiration. On terms of Dao heart, she was actually inferior to a boy who was a tenant farmer. Han Yi smiled slightly. "I am at the Pure Yang Peak, under Elder Guy, whose primary practice is physical training. Da Niu and I were assigned together, probably because of our bloodline." "Miss Liu, where are you?" The frost on Liu Linky's face had melted away noticeably since her time at Liu Manor. A faint smile appeared. "My brother is in Ziwei Peak, so I am also in Ziwei Peak." Upon receiving this news, Han Yi smirked. So you're with Chu Shanyu, she's also in Ziwei Peak. Who would be thought Miss Liu would be interested in learning swordsmanship? What about Dan Niu? I remember he was ahead of me. Liu Linky recollected. Him? Bleh! A strange noise suddenly came from behind. Both of them turned around simultaneously, only to see Wang Daniu bend over, supporting himself on a big tree. Wang Daniu turned around with an innocent face. I don't know why, but I feel like throwing up.